Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that you won't watch on YouTube, namely where Naruto roasts Kushina and Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my Boosty channel at the link in the description.
On December 24, 76 years before Naruto was born, an incredible ninja was born who changed the whole world. From his earliest childhood, Uchiha Madara showed his genius, learning to walk when he was 6 months old. Looking down at his mother and father with disdain, he sat on the potty himself, not allowing anyone to take care of him, unless of course it concerned his boobs. Then Madara instantly transformed into a hungry, poor orphan with touching eyes that few could resist, especially his mother, who breastfed Madara until 2 years later, on February 10, Izuna Uchiha, his younger brother, was born. Of course, Madara had another older brother, but he died at the age of 3 when he was sent to war. The era in which Madara lived was called the era of warring clans. It was a harsh time, when the grass was greener, the sky was bluer, and there was no stupid and unnecessary ninja academy. Children were sent to war at 3 years old, given a kunai in their hands, and given only a couple of pieces of advice. There was no unnecessary training and boring cramming. Children did not need it, they were too cool for it. Survived? Well done. Here's an even more important and cool mission for you. The clan in which Madara was born was located in a small village in the Valley of Endless Forests. It was the Uchiha clan, rich peasants, who received large supplies of agricultural equipment, kunai, scythes, shurikens for hunting game. The village produced little, rather it was self-sufficient, often disappeared and appeared in another place, but the ruler of the country did not pay much attention to this, generously paying the peasants for their pretty eyes. If you met the Uchiha and saw his pretty eyes, you would immediately generously turn out all your pockets and give all your savings. It is quite natural that all of the above is irony, and some words have a not entirely direct meaning. The Uchiha were not peasants, this is nothing more than a legend and a lie, they were hired laborers with a bias towards murder. The first words of Uchiha Madara were not mom or dad. No, it was a philosophical quote that was recorded in the history of the world. There is nothing to eat. To eat, you need to work. To work, you need orders. To fulfill orders, you need to make sure that competitors don't take them. To have no competitors, you need to eliminate them. And this is so stressful. After all, in the process of elimination, there is even less food being destroyed. A vicious circle. Oh. Kami. Madara has spoken. The mother immediately rejoiced, hugging the child. Finally. Madara didn't say anything else that day. Mother Senna and father Taijima, who lived in the largest stilt house in the village, although it was more of a mansion than a house, immediately wrote down their son's words. Oh, I completely forgot to describe the place where Madara lived in more detail. So, as was already described above, he lived in a village of peasants. These were wooden houses with paper panel walls, in the center of which was a hearth where they cooked food. What's surprising is that the Uchiha clan didn't have any servants, as they write in other Mary Sue fan fictions with a bias towards aristocracy. Despite the fact that they were military aristocrats, they mostly did all the household chores themselves. For servants, you have to go to the Hyuga clan, and even then, their servants are not just anyone, but their own relatives, with the same gene and blood as they are, only a collateral branch. They all got up early, children went to the fields to help the peasants plant rice, adults went either to rest or to work, on missions issued by the head of the clan, who took the mission from the spies serving as servants to the ruler. More than half of the clan were people who did not have Uchiha blood, but who adopted their surname, or clan's allies, like cats or blacksmiths. And most importantly, a purebred Uchiha could be weaker than one accepted into the clan, unlike many other Mary Aristo fanfics, where those with special blood and heritage are the most royal and cool people. And most importantly, incredible for a reader accustomed to Mary Aristo, is that a purebred Uchiha could be not a ninja, but, for example, a merchant. Thus, the strongest in the clan were only a couple of percent of ninja, whose existence was provided by the rest of the clan. And what's most shocking is that all ninja were first and foremost elite samurai. Although a little hungry because they were not the only elite. And like any elite, the Uchiha clan had a blood enemy, an implacable one. Remember, Madara, don't trust Senju, Madara's father instructed him as he stole food from his plate. Hey, what are you doing? This is not polite. Fuck culture, said Madara. He was overcome by hunger and verbal diarrhea developed at the time when the theater was being plowed. But he managed to stop himself in time with food. Usually, Madara was not interested in the people around him, he was above the base impulse of social needs. Of all the needs, he was most concerned with what he could fill his stomach with. In other words, he was self-sufficient, lonely and did not talk to anyone. Yes. Not with anyone. Madara nodded. But this time the hunger was especially strong. He lay in his room on a bundle of rice straw and stared at the ceiling. No one knew what he was thinking about. The adults were not too interested in what the little boy did in the evenings, giving him free time from work. Sometimes it seemed to Madara that he would go forever to help the farmers process rice, carry water, get small cakes for this so that he could eat a little, return home, sleep and the next day repeat the same thing, and so on until his death. We need to come up with something urgently. On a Friday in early September, Madara woke up as usual, got out of bed and realized that he couldn't live like this any longer. He needed a slave to do all the work for him. Madara usually sighed and made plans with such a sigh, but only if this sigh was voiced in the morning. At other times it was nothing more than a manifestation of laziness and weariness from life. This time Madara got up especially early, the sun had not yet risen, the cold autumn air sprinkled the grass with silvery drops of dew, which in the twilight sparkled like a scattering of stars in the sky. And so it is not surprising that at such an early hour he noticed how someone was sneaking past his window. Just kidding, Madara would not have noticed the elephant if he was just lying in bed and dreaming. At that moment he decided to sneak away for a night snack, and so it is not surprising that, having increased his attention, he noticed a girl passing by his window. Madara didn't lose his composure and blocked her path. Sayuri Uchiha was a girl of about 16, and like any girl of her youth, she was very romantic. It was no surprise that one day she was drawn to the forbidden. To the Senju clan. It was no surprise that she found a guy in the Senju clan and fell in love with him, and that romantic young man, who was of no use to anyone among the girls in his clan, fell in love with his blood enemy. That day, she was returning from another secret date through the least patrolled place, which coincided with the house where Madara lived. "Oh, Sayuri, you love the forbidden," Madara said, interrupting her path. "I'll keep your adventures a secret if you complete a couple of my tasks." Madara knew nothing about Sayuri's date with the Senju boy. Moreover, he mistakenly assumed that Sayuri indulged in something forbidden, just like him, night eating. His words were nothing more than a joke, which made it all the more surprising when Sayuri took his words seriously, extremely unwilling to reveal the betrayal of the Uchiha clan's interests. Okay, what to do? Madara didn't lose his head when he smelled the scent of profit. If earlier he didn't even think that there was something more serious than a night of gluttony, now he understood everything. And he wasn't going to miss his chance, and so he immediately grabbed it. Madara was carried away by a wave of inspiration. "Do you know that I awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan?" "No, so, I have a special ability, illusionary barriers with monsters. And before you complete my tasks, you must prepare, I will create a training barrier for you. Where you need to destroy all the dead, taking as many crystals as possible that fell from them. Come here in the evening, don't worry, the training won't take much time. If you don't come, I'll tell Mom everything." Of course, the girl didn't care what the kid imagined. She was much more worried that if she didn't come and play with him with dolls, and she didn't believe in barriers with monsters, considering Madara a dreamer, then the kid could tell everything. Imagine her surprise when Madara's words turned out to be true. "And don't say a word about the Manjikyu Sharingan to anyone, not even my parents, or I'll kill you," Madara said jokingly, but this time his words were taken literally. "By the way, it would be nice for me to get acquainted with the forbidden." From then on, Madara walked around more or less full. But even after eating enough food for 10 people, he still felt hungry. New slaves were needed. The very next year, when he turned 3, he was sent on a mission, given a kunai and a couple of pieces of advice that went like this. To create a chakra, you need to connect spiritual and life force. In order for the chakra to be dense and not disperse, it must be twisted into a vortex. So, your mission is espionage, look for everything interesting and report when you return. The only thing Madara knew at the age of 3 was how to plant rice and avoid simple mechanical traps. He could also shoot a bow and throw a kunai in a certain direction. Also, the most important skill was the ability to not eat all the food at once and save it. He had to work on the rice plantations all day. They gave out cakes only once, in the morning, and he had to eat the supply correctly until the evening. He ate little. He was saved from hunger by his knowledge of several edible plants, and his favorite delicacy as a sour seasoning, ants on a stick. Well, at the same time, he knew how to walk long distances a day and not get lost. Of course, Sayuri corrected his stock of stones, but Madara still felt a lack of nutrition. The place where he was currently traveling was a dense deciduous forest. The sun was not visible, it did not break through the crowns, the ground was surprisingly without moss and branches, hidden by tall grass. Bushes and windfalls began only at the edges of the forest, making travel difficult if you did not know the animal trails. Madara stopped, looked back, and saw the silhouette of a girl who came out of the shadow of the tree closest to him. "Hello, Sayuri, what are you doing here? Were you waiting for me? I hope I won't get killed for blackmail?" asked Madara, not even knowing that he had hit the nail on the head, which greatly frightened Sayuri, who immediately changed her plans. "No, I wanted to introduce you to Jin, Senju Jin," Sayuri replied, signaling with her hands for Jin to stop killing. "And you're afraid of this kid?" Jin was surprised, appearing in front of Madara and holding a blade to his neck. Madara did not lose his head, quickly assessing the whole situation of love between two people separated by the enmity of their families. Without moving, he looked Jin up and down, assessing the new slave. Smiling, he began to speak. He was carried away by a wave of inspiration and desires. "Do you know that sooner or later your relationship will be revealed? And then you both will have to choose between love and death, or the interests of the clan. But I know how to avoid this, and also how to reconcile our clans. Listen and heed my words, pathetic mortals. Jin, please listen to him. Even though he is a kid, he is very dangerous and strong. He has already awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan. But first it would be nice to have a picnic." Madara immediately moved on to the main goal of his plan. Madara didn't care about anything other than good, proper nutrition. He hadn't come up with a plan, which didn't stop him from making it up as he went along. Jin and Sayuri had already set the table and were getting ready to listen. First, you need to become strong to complete the plan to roll the wheel. That's the name, it's top secret. Yes. Yum yum. I'll create a barrier where we'll hide. Inside there's another barrier, but with monsters, where you have to get a lot of crystals and give them to me, or other things. And since using such a technique is very expensive in terms of chakra, you have to feed me. We'll find places rich in game, you'll hunt, I'll lie around the clock, that is, do important work. Rest to open barriers for your training. The hardest part of the work will be on me, so you'll have to take on the rest of the responsibilities. Well, there's washing, cooking, cleaning, hunting, fire. Am I explaining myself clearly? I don't believe that you can create something like that. Jin looked at Madara skeptically. I am Uchiha Madara. I am great and powerful. How can you doubt me? Madara frowned and looked at Jin intently, bringing his face close to his. Madara still didn't have a plan, but he knew well that any plan required power and resources. It was a piece of cake to reduce gaining power to filling his stomach. And then, he would come up with something new. Chapter 2. Madara, pianos in the bushes Once upon a time, during the clan wars, a great ninja was born, Uchiha Madara. Times were good, the grass was greener, the sky was bluer, and children were not sent to sit around in the academy. They did not need it, they were too cool for that, and already at 3 years old they were sent to war with only a couple of pieces of advice. Uchiha Madara at 3 years old managed to get a girl from his clan and her love, a guy from the enemy clan Senju, as a slave, and went with them on a journey, to learn about themselves and the world around them. The lovers decided not to return back to their clans, hiding and becoming deserters, and Madara was simply carrying out a very important mission, given to him directly by the head of the clan. They settled in the Valley of Rivers, where Madara began to teach his stupid and lazy slaves the subtle art of ninja. He devoted all his free time from rest to this matter. And his special ability to create barriers that hide and separate them from the world, the ability of his Mangekyo Sharingan, the special power of the eyes, helped him in this. On September 2nd, 71 years before Naruto was born, Uchiha Madara saw that his sock had become holy and realized that he couldn't live like that any longer. After painting his finger black with ink so that his socks would appear whole, Madara stood up, stretched, and felt his clothes cracking and about to tear. Jin narrowed his eyes at Madara, chuckled, and turned away from Madara, moving his gaze to Sayuri. Is it just me, or has this worthless wretch been brazenly deceiving and using us for a whole year? Jin hissed obscenely. If this kid is so powerful, why doesn't he create clothes out of thin air? Of course, I can materialize clothes out of thin air, but that would attract unnecessary attention from higher beings, Madara answered in a quiet voice, proudly raising his head. That's why we'll just go and buy clothes so as not to disrupt the natural flow of time in this world. And anyway. Madara raised his finger admonishingly. While the ships are furrowing the expanses of the Grand Theater, you are tormented by some nonsense, doubting me. Don't do that. So he didn't show us anything other than the barriers, he didn't even show us the Mangekyo Sharingan, citing stealth, Jin drawled in an extremely sarcastic tone. And as if using barriers doesn't affect stealth? Huh? Aren't they noticeable? No, of course not, that's what they're called concealing barriers for. Madara didn't lose his composure. And inside the barrier, show off your incredible abilities? Jin continued. Don't push me. All my strength and concentration goes into the barriers. I can't be distracted by anything else. Madara exclaimed quietly. This is another incredible thing that made everyone respect Madara immensely. He never shouted, or rather, since the age of 4, he never raised his voice. This caused difficulties for Madara when he needed to raise his voice so that everyone could hear him, for example, during a heated battle, but he got out of such situations with dignity, using a special artifact in the form of a megaphone that amplifies sound. When there was no artifact, he used the services of his slave, Sayuri. Then how do you use the second barrier in the barrier? Jin continued to press. The barrier is a different matter, or rather, I use one barrier, I just divide it into parts, Madara answered. Jin, stop pressuring the child, children his age like to fantasize, although some of his words turned out to be true, but he is a child, be gentle with him, Sayuri stopped Jin. Okay, but how this kid pisses me off. Jin hissed, putting his hand to his head. Then another question, with what money will we buy new clothes? No problem, we'll find the money. Madara removed the barrier with a snap of his fingers and walked out of the Valley of Rivers towards the nearest town. Let's go. Like any Marty stew, the character Madara had a feature called a piano in the bushes. This is when the hero needs something and it suddenly appears right on his way. It is not surprising that when he arrived in town, he immediately found a wallet full of gold. It was difficult to notice in the mud, and he drowned in a puddle, but Madara had a very keen eye, strengthened by hunger. Well, we found the money, now we just need to find its owner. Madara looked back, seeing the departing caravan, and headed in its direction. Huh? Jin didn't understand Madara's words at first, rejoicing at the find, but when he realized. Stop, asshole. Idiot. But it was too late. Here, Mr. Merchant, you lost it. Madara gave the purse to a fat man with a small dark cap on his bald head, dressed in robes embroidered with gold leaves. Oh, thank you, and I thought I was robbed again. The poor boys are very nimble, I am surprised that among them there was such a boy with a pure heart as you, answered the merchant. How can I help? Maybe throw in some coins? Oh, what are you saying, you don't need any thanks. But it would be nice if you gave me some old burlap, I need clothes, the old ones are torn, and I see you sold some of your goods and you have some extra old sacks left. Take them all. I don't care if I throw them away. The merchant answered happily. Idiot, Jin put his hand over his eyes. Where were you looking, Sayuri? I didn't have time to react, just like you, Sayuri was in the same state of shock as Jin. We could have had money. But he just took it and returned it. Meanwhile, Madara returned and looked at his slaves, who were suffering for no reason, in bewilderment. Why are you suffering? I didn't think I burdened you with work? Asked Madara. Okay, let's go. Maybe we'll sell these bags to someone and get some money for clothes. Oh, I guess if he saves the princess and she offers a reward, he'll refuse, Jin said, not even knowing that his words were prophetic. Jin, don't look at me like that, I'm an honest man, I won't tolerate theft, Madara said, raising his head proudly. Moreover, it could have been a trap, money can't just be lying around on the road. Madara looked sadly at the town, gray, full of low white houses with tiled roofs, and realized that he had missed his chance to get rich, but he did not fall into despair and devised a plan. Madara was carried away. Inspiration came over him, and he turned and jumped back into the forest, where he found some bushes. Jin and Sayuri exchanged glances, shrugged, and followed the restless boy. Despite their dislike for him, they valued him for his ability to set up barriers and did not want him to die. Otherwise, they would quickly be found and separated. How come I didn't remember before? It's autumn now, and there are expensive berries growing in the bushes that you can sell, Madara said, unrolling the bag. Stop. The bushes are poisonous, there are no berries on them. Jin called out. They quickly paralyze anyone who touches them. Madara didn't lose his composure. He knew that ninja clans are always divided into two generations, the older and the younger. In general, in any large enough organization there are contradictions between conservatives and innovators. He also knew that recently in most warring clans the majority of the youth are for peace and friendship, and the older ones are for war and revenge. And he also knew that there are clans that specialize in close combat, which often have to touch the enemy during the fight. Madara came up with a new plan. Madara got carried away again. I planned it that way, it would be a poisonous bush. Jin, listen to my plan, we carefully collect the poison, and then Jin. Which of the strongest clans specializes in close combat? Hyuga, Sayuri said. Excellent, Jin, grab the poison and go attack the young members of the Hyuga clan. Madara sat down with an important look by the bushes, waiting for his orders to be carried out. I'm sick of it. I won't listen to this kid anymore. Jin yelled. An hour later, Sayuri smiled sweetly as she finished her lecture on restraint and forgiveness. And also that Madara, although capricious, was a smart enough child, who also had an amazing ability that had prevented anyone from finding them for a whole year. Madara was no longer happy that he had started this plan without explaining all the details to Jin. Listen, Jin, Madara whispered. I'm sorry, huh? I didn't know she was so picky. Okay, I agree to carry out your plan. I don't understand anything about it anyway. Moreover, I have become strong enough to escape with Sayuri at any moment. But first, we need to somehow, without offending Sayuri, make her stop lecturing. Finding the Hyuga was surprisingly difficult. They slowly traveled from one village to another, visiting all the dens of evil, where they searched for the necessary information among rumors. All the way, Sayuri and Jin tried to find out Madara's plan, but he remained silent, not revealing secrets. As expected, according to rumors, Hyuga Hinata, the princess of the clan, turned out to be popular among the younger generation of the Hyuga clan, but very unpopular among the older generation, who were greatly disappointed by Hinata's kindness and were about to brand her, lowering her status. But these were only rumors, and unreliable, but they were enough for Madara to understand where to start. But the plan failed at the planning stage. It wasn't them who found her and attacked her. Hinata Hyuga found Madara, Jin, and Sayuri herself, attacking them. The warriors in beige robes quickly entered the tavern where they were sitting, surrounded them and stopped. Madara didn't lose his composure. He sat with his eyes closed as if there was no threat, sipping a cup of tea. He didn't pay attention to the threat coming from the warriors around him. The most important thing was that it was the younger generation of Hyuga who found him. Hinata Hyuga was a young girl with a beautiful doll-like appearance. Her dark purple hair fell to her tailbone, with some strands sticking out, outlining her shoulders. Her light violet eyes, slightly glowing, being a special mutation that allows one to see chakra, the Byakugan, looked at Madara, Jin, and Sayuri unfocused. So you were the one looking for me? Hinata asked. Yes, Madara replied. Baby? Shut up, I'm not asking you, Hinata said. Yes, we were looking for you, said Jin. Why? She asked. Well, Jin looked back at Madara. What? Seriously? Just because your child wanted it? Hinata smiled. I wanted to talk to you, Madara said. You're more likely a team sent by my father. Hinata's tone of voice became colder, her face completely stopped reflecting emotions, and she herself stood in a fighting stance, sideways, stretching her hand in front of her face. Or other bounty hunters. Don't worry, we'll beat you up gently now and figure everything out. Why doesn't anyone take me seriously? Madara asked, opening his eyes. Hey, Hinata, don't ignore me. What makes you think that I ignore you? On the contrary, I consider you the most dangerous of your three, kid, said Hinata. What clan are you from? Kagaya? No, more like Senju. We're from the clan of smart guys, Nara. Jin, our plan to attack failed, but I came up with a new plan, Madara said, putting his cup on the table. It looks like the plot gun with poison won't fire. Came up with just one plan that failed and came up with another one on the fly? Improvisation is not typical for the Nara, you or Senju. Or Uzumaki, or Hagoromo. As those who often fight the Uchiha, they have to be unpredictable. Sharingan, special eyes allow you to anticipate any plan, and in order to survive in a fight with the Uchiha, you often have to come up with new attack plans on the fly, adapting to the situation. Meanwhile, all the normal people had already left the room. Madara concentrated on the task ahead of him. He would need incredible reaction. You won't be able to defeat us, Madara said. Because I have incredible knowledge of hand-to-hand combat. I know one of the karate techniques. Just one? I know thousands of different hand-to-hand combat techniques. We are on different levels. I agree. After all, I have honed this one technique to the limit, having learned it 1,000 times in a row. Wait, you want to fight a melee specialist in melee combat? Sayuri asked. No. She will lose to me, Madara smiled. You're too confident, kid, Hyuga replied. You can't beat me. But first I would like to talk to you, Madara changed the subject. Do you agree that we are in the same group of young people? What are you talking about? Hinata was surprised. You are so tired of adults ignoring you that you transfer these problems to yourself. Well, you could say that, Hinata smiled. So what? Hearing the key point, Madara was delighted. This concludes our fight, Madara said, relaxing. I have already won. Byakugan. The veins around Hinata's eyes bulged, streams of power spread out from her, thanks to which she saw through everything around her. I don't understand anything, there are no traps. You haven't even prepared your chakra for the fight. Kid, you're such a dreamer. And why is it that when I tell the truth, no one believes me, Jin? Madara asked. I'm not just a kid, I'm Uchiha Madara. Uchiha? Hinata asked incredulously. Yes, and I awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, Madara nodded. I've never heard of an Uchiha awakening the highest level of their eyes at that age. You're a liar. They don't believe me again. In any case, whatever you have in mind, and even if you can deal with us, help will come from outside, Hyuga smiled. There are many of us, and only 3 of you. Surrender. So you've been waiting for reinforcements all this time, playing it safe? Madara asked. That won't help you. 3 to 1, not a bad ratio. Yes, you're right, we'll attack 3 of you each. More will only get in the way. Don't think of it as cowardice, Hinata smiled. But you're 2 dangerous opponents, about whom we know little. After all, you're Uchiha. And Senju. Let me tell you something before the battle, Madara smiled. I'll reveal a couple of secrets. I allow it, Hinata said, raising her nose. I have a technique that allows me to summon dead bodies. If you see a walking dead person, know that it is your enemy, said Madara. You won't have time to summon anyone, Hinata said confidently. Enough talk. Surrender. You're in my group, you lost, Madara said. You give up. Suddenly the space blinked and all the Hyuga except Hinata disappeared. The girl was taken aback, looking around. She did not understand what was happening, she was scared. What happened? Hinata asked, losing all her determination. This thing is a powerful barrier, an illusion imposed on reality, which has displaced us in space and time. Kai. Hinata wove her fingers into an antenna and released her power. Don't try to take it off, it won't work, the illusion wasn't cast on you, but on the world. 3-1, not a bad ratio, Madara smiled. Just don't think I'm a coward, you're a Hyuga after all. Surrender, we didn't come to kill you for money, we came to make an alliance with you. You probably had the desire to stop the wars between clans more than once. But many were against it, weren't they? How can you trust someone, how can you make peace with someone if you can be betrayed at any moment? But if you don't try, you won't learn anything. So, I suggest you eliminate everyone who is against peace and lead the clan yourself. By combining our strength, we will gain the greatest advantage. We will become the first seed to create peace. And of course, we will hold meetings where we will set the tables with food. That's not what I wanted to say. In general, I am for peace, and you? Are you ready to try, trust us, test us? That day, Madara got a new slave and new clothes. Although no one ever knew about it, it was another step on Madara's path to changing the world. Traitor, whispered the tied-up Hinata on Madara's shoulder. Sorry, but it's all for food. I'll be rewarded well, Madara said, returning to his clan. Still, this paralyzing poison came in handy. End. Chapter 3. War of Clans On December 24, 76 years before Naruto was born, the great ninja Uchiha Madara was born, who had been showing incredible results since childhood. At the age of 4, he managed to defeat half of the strongest clan of hand-to-hand ninja Hyuga, and capture its leader, Hinata Hyuga, in a terrible and bloody battle that lasted 3 days and 3 nights, and then deliver him to his clan, receiving a worthy reward from the head of the clan. Unfortunately, Hinata Hyuga managed to miraculously escape, poisoning all the elders of the Uchiha clan and kidnapping Madara. Who helped her escape, and where she got the poison from, is unknown. History has not preserved knowledge of this. On January 2, 64 years before Naruto was born, Madara's younger brother, who became the older brother after his disappearance, Uchiha Izuna, buried his younger brother. Madara, I'll be 10 years old soon. 7 years have passed since your disappearance or death, Izuna said. Now I understand why you hated war so much. I promise I'll do everything I can to ensure that no more of our brothers and sisters die in this senseless war. The fact that Izuna became an older brother greatly affected his intellect. There was no one who would prevent his mistakes or teach him, and therefore he had to learn from his mistakes, not counting the fact that the responsibility for his younger brothers fell on him, increasing the burden on him by an order of magnitude, both psychological and physical, which, as noted above, greatly changed Izuna, making him wiser, and therefore it is not at all surprising that he adopted Madara's ideas about world peace, which he began to abruptly share with everyone shortly before the abduction, from which one important thing emerged. All this was Madara's plan, who knew that this would happen, and who thus managed to keep the history of this world unchanged, excluding and replacing himself with another figure in the equation of the fate of the entire world, thus falling out of the cunning plans of all the powerful beings of this world, which allowed him to free up a huge amount of time for his own development and absorption of a huge amount of food. And most importantly, Madara did not come up with this plan. He's just Marty Stew, and he has it just happened that way, just because he's a really cool dude who can't have a bad and boring story without breaking his fate, just like that, in passing. Horror, how tired I am of writing all this out. I hope that all the commas are in their place, and I didn't miss anything. Let's get back to Izuna. Izuna? What are you talking about? Tetsu Uchiha was indignant. What kind of peace can there be? We must avenge our brother's death. If you continue like this, you won't live long, Izuna replied. Tanamaru, tell him. If you want peace, Izuna, you first need to teach the ninja to control their feelings. You need to come up with a set of rules to avoid unnecessary casualties. You're right, Tanamaru, Izuna nodded. That day, while lounging around the bushes and looking at the views of disgustingly joyful nature, Izuna stopped on the bank of a small river and started playing pancakes, trying to throw a stone across the water to the other bank. Like his cool brother, Madara, but since he was, Lauka, not very experienced in this game, he could not do it. And on the same day, Senju Hashirama met Uchiha Izuna for the first time and showed him how to play correctly. So, later, already at the second meeting, the story of friendship between Hashirama and Izuna began. Two guys who never told each other their last names, knowing only that they were both ninja. Hashirama's younger brother was only 7 years old when he died. Another younger brother, Itama, died the same year. A little later, Tetsu Uchiha died, after which Izuna and Hashirama had a second meeting. After a long conversation, Hashirama realized that Izuna was as stupid as he was, wanting strange, world peace, and did not want more deaths. From that moment on, they began to meet often, communicating, dreaming of becoming strong and changing the whole world, and training together. However, they were well aware that their dreams were nothing more than unrealistic fantasies, and that they were insignificant and ridiculous in the dream of changing the whole world. It's funny, two kids meet and seriously discuss how they will become strong and make everyone unite, ninja clans between which blood feud lasts for millennia. These were impossible dreams. It's like the reasoning of a maid or a cleaning lady about how she will become a goddess and everyone will worship her. Very ridiculous and stupid dreams. Take that. This is my piss technique. Izuna yelled, stretching his piss-stained hands towards Hashirama. What are they doing? What kind of game is this? Madara asked, sitting on a tree not far from them. Anyway, Hinata, they're both proof that we're not the only ones dreaming of peace. You're annoying me with saying this. I get it. I get it. There are many children like them in other clans, dreaming of peace. We can use this to have a lot of food. Oh, I wanted to say to unite all the clans in a short time and capture most of the fertile lands and protect them from disparate clans of strangers. I meant. Well, you get the idea. Madara, stop it, I understand everything, Hinata hissed angrily. However, it is too early to begin our plan. Not all clans have been bled dry enough in this war. It will be difficult to capture clans full of strength. With my barriers, we can capture everyone piece by piece, Madara replied, touching the girl's chest, kneading it. I'm tired of waiting. I want to eat. What are you doing, idiot? Hyuga hissed. I'm hungry. And I have to put up with such a moron? Why do I deserve this ninja god? Hinata looked up at the sky, but the sky didn't answer her. I don't know, I must have sinned somewhere, Madara answered. I didn't ask you. Who? I am the god of ninja. Madara was very surprised, slightly raising his eyebrows, but then he turned sharply towards Hashirama and Izuna. Stop, be quiet, something bad happened. Madara froze, listening. Where? Hinata turned on her incredible eyes, Byakugan, which allowed her to see through everything around her for kilometers into the distance. Hashirama came up with the most depressing place in the world. A ninja school. What a bad one. Madara was indignant in a quiet and calm voice, but thought about it and was glad. Although, it is not for me to study there. I see an object, Hinata said quietly. Is that black blob Zetsu? What's so special about it? No, can you imagine? Madara didn't pay any attention to the current goal, he heard a new heresy and got carried away. Strongly indignant, he spoke quietly, calmly, he also wants to breed bureaucracy. This world is over. Hashirama is the demon of the apocalypse. We will all die. Madara, the Zetsu you were looking for is here. Madara? Hey, stop messing around. What do you need to do there? Hinata pinched Madara, bringing Madara back from his thoughts. Huh? What are we doing here? Madara was very surprised, looking around. He had already managed to forget everything, his mind was tormented by hunger. I don't know, you dragged me here yourself, to look for Zetsu, Hinata shrugged. Who is Zetsu? Why do I need him? Don't bother me, Hinata, give me something to eat, Madara said and grabbed her breast. A loud slap was heard over the forest. Huh? What is Izuna? Hashirama asked. Did you hear? Izuna rushed into the forest, to the place where there was a sound, but there was no one there. Madara, with an extremely thoughtful expression on his face, rubbed his cheek, as if he was solving important problems and making decisions that could change the fate of the entire world. His dark and long hair was fluttering in the invisible wind, giving him an extremely cool look. Noticing this, Madara frowned and pursed his lips, tensing his entire body. His hair stopped fluttering sharply as if in an invisible ethereal wind. You know, Hinata, let's run away to the desert. I know a place there where in ancient times a piece of the 10-tailed divine demonic tree remained. It is guarded by another part of the Uzumaki clan, for about 1,000 years, not allowing the power of this piece to break free and do evil. Are you interested? Hinata, who was walking next to him, pursed her lips angrily, but since she was very kind, she could not stay angry for long. Moreover, Madara was nothing more than a child, and it was not his fault that the adults did not teach him culture. Therefore, she answered him with consent. Let's go, Hinata nodded. But first I need to instruct my deputy. Sundara, Madara said quietly. I hear everything. By the way, you're also at Sundara, Hinata smiled. Hinata, carry me in your arms, I can't walk on water. The journey through the desert was leisurely. Madara pulled out a straw hat from nowhere, put it on his head, and then, also when Hinata turned away for a moment, an ice cream appeared in his hands, which he slowly began to lick. It was so hot that Hinata's cheeks were red for most of the journey, even the special chakra technique did not help. And even at night, when it became cool. We've arrived, Madara said quietly, stopping at a small town. It's time for food. Knowing you, it wasn't surprising, but I don't understand where you see food here? Hinata asked. Or are you going to eat sand? You know, all the kids put it in their mouths. That's too boring a joke, Hinata, Madara replied gloomily. They walked slowly to the city center, occasionally turning off to look at interesting things. For example, stones that prevented the movement of sand. In the city center, their path was blocked by a slender brunette in a purple robe. You shall not pass, she said to Madara. Okay, Madara turned around and headed back, mentally going over places to eat. Hinata hung there for a few seconds, trying to understand what she saw. She couldn't make an intelligible sound for another 10 seconds. And we're just going to leave like that, giving up so easily? Hinata said indignantly, using her Byakugan to see how much chakra was sealed underground. I already took everything, Madara replied, confusing Hinata even more. When did you manage to do that? Hinata was surprised, seeing a thick cloud of chakra around Madara, absorbing into him. In the future, Madara seemed to have set himself the goal of having sex with Hinata's mind, completely confusing her thoughts. What nonsense are you talking about? Naruto, Movie 7, The Lost Tower, Madara continued to spout nonsense. What? What Naruto? Fool. Bubble. Remnant. Trick. Madara smiled at a joke that only he understood and continued his journey to the Valley of Rivers. He no longer felt hungry, for the first time since his birth. But it would not last long, 6 months or 2, and he would again be consumed by the feeling of emptiness. And in that time, many very important things still needed to be done. Hinata, continue to carry out our plan at the same pace, and I will have to leave you for a while, Madara said when they reached the Valley of the Mountains. In the future, we must deal with these mountains, they are in the way, remove them, build a river, call this place the pompous name Valley of Completion, dig a lake. Madara, don't talk nonsense, changing the landscape to such an extent. No ninja can do that, Hinata put her hand to her face. Even an entire clan can't. I didn't ask you, shut up, girl, Madara smiled at Hinata's answer. Since Madara's goal was to unite the ninja clans in order to capture the most fertile lands, it was also necessary to properly manage the captured territory, and ninja were not suitable for this, since all their time would be spent not on control, but on training their strength to protect the lands. In total, there were 6 small countries located on the most fertile lands in the center of the continent, and each was ruled by its own emperors. Ninja took missions from them, and in the future they would have to become the basis of the ruling aristocracy when uniting into one country, which Madara did not like very much, since such power greatly slowed down the development of agriculture. Not wanting to change and wanting stability, they would prohibit any new things, hindering the peasants, fearing their uprising. And also under them, due to fear of uprisings, taxes will be very high, driving the peasants into poverty so that they do not have the strength to rebel, which also does not contribute to development. Other civil rulers controlled only by him were needed, and he saw recruitment among the dissatisfied as the best way. He considered girls to be the most optimal for recruitment, mathematically evaluating their level of loyalty and non-conflict as very high. In fact, any young princess would have some sad story, having solved which they would become loyal to him, but it was necessary to choose the smartest among them, so that her proactive loyalty during the reign would not spoil anything. The intelligence of the eldest child depends on the parents and the number of younger brothers and sisters. The less attention the parents pay, the more responsibility he bears for the younger children, the more the child's questions are answered in childhood, the higher his intelligence in the future. It is also desirable that the child live in the closest to natural conditions, in fact, in the village. That is, the country where Madara decided to go. He chose the poorest, knowing full well that a poor ruler will pay little attention to a child busy with the problems of the state, and knowing full well that the poor are the most fertile, and also that the children will actually live close to nature and other children from the servants with a cruel society, which also increases intelligence and social skills. It's a failure. An epic mistake, Madara said and smiled. We need to correct the calculations and formulas. Having arrived in the capital, Madara realized that the error of his assessment was too high. The country was poor because of the overfed ruler, who was very rich at the expense of the peasants. Then he went to another country, less poor. And there, having stayed in the capital for a whole month, he was convinced that he had stumbled upon what he needed. He appeared before her in the night, in the silver light of the moon, holding the blade of a dark katana to her neck. She shuddered, froze before him, as if before a wild predator, feeling fear. Having looked at the boy who took her hostage, she became even more afraid. The light locks of her hair twitched from a strong gust of wind, blocking her vision for a moment, and the next moment the katana disappeared. Madara hugged her, and whispered words in her ear. I came to talk to you, princess. Madara touched her dirty ear with his lips, wincing inwardly from the smell of an unwashed body. Tomorrow at the same time, in a place convenient for you. With these last words he disappeared into the night. He showed up again at the same time, or rather an hour before the appointed meeting, but in a different place. Madara looked back and immediately headed towards the smell of food. Halfway through satisfying his hunger, he froze, feeling a piercing gaze on his back. It was a failure, he had been noticed. Madara did not lose his head, and turned around, thinking of how to get out of it. Madara? Hinata stood opposite him with the princess. Madara didn't lose his composure, turned around and continued eating, ignoring the intense gaze of violet eyes. He had seen enough, his mission here was complete before it even began. It was good to have slaves who would do most of the work for Madara. And yesterday he seemed so. So, the princess's voice came from behind him. Do you know him? Yes, he is my friend, and he shares our views too. I don't think he wanted to kill you. More like he came up with a plan to recruit you to use in our overall plan to establish order and peace among the ninja. And yes, sometimes he is incredible, but most of the time he is an idiot. Okay, friend, no point in worrying about him. I don't plan on leaving the aristocracy class, consider that in your plans, Hinata, Madara said quietly, looking up from his meal. And you too, princess, consider that. I promise you'll become an absolute monarch, and you won't go unwashed anymore, and you'll have enough money to hire any ninja, and not ask your friend to guard you. Madara wanted to grab a glass of water to wash down the food, but he missed and dropped it, breaking and spilling the water. There was a deathly silence. In this silence, you could hear the cockroaches stomping loudly. Madara, are you okay? Hinata asked worriedly. Madara looked at his hand as if it were a traitor, not believing what had happened. He looked back, looked at the sky, at Hinata, counted the number of visible feathers on the bird flying 40 kilometers away. The hand had not betrayed him. Nothing, Madara muttered, and without finishing his meal, he disappeared into thin air. He didn't finish it, Hinata was very surprised. Madara ran through the forest, and not noticing a branch, he tripped like a pathetic loser. Having fallen on the grass, he stared blindly ahead and breathed heavily until morning came. Squinting blindly, he looked straight at the sun, but saw nothing, only felt how his cheeks were caressed by the warm rays. A terrible, mournful howl burst from his chest, inhuman, but no less sad. Madara stood up, his hand approaching his eyes. There was a wet crunch, the ringing of glass, the grinding of a metal lid. When he opened his eyelids, a golden fire was burning in his eye sockets. Even without eyes I can see, but it's better to save chakra. A golden flash and the eyes were restored. It's sad, now I don't have Manjikyu Sharingan, but at least I'll have to eat less. Madara was about to go about his business, looking for a new target, but he froze, listening to the rustling of the forest. He heard the rapid clatter of the ninja's feet jumping from branch to branch. There were 3 of them, and they appeared before him in a whirlwind of leaves. Sayuri? Jin? And? Who are you? He asked the red-haired girl. How did you find me? Sayuri answered his question. You hide your chakra well, but you have such a large amount of spiritual energy that you distort space and time. Using a special search technique, we can determine the approximate direction to you, and then search using conventional methods. We wandered around here for an hour before finding you. This girl is Mito Uzumaki, and she is our new comrade. Let's be friends. Madara wasted no time and extended his hand. I'm Madara. Uchiha Madara. I agree to be friends with you, Mito nodded, touching his hand and immediately pressing her whole body against him, hugging him. And not only that. Mito, Sayuri said sternly. The red-haired girl closed her eyes and quietly melted. What are you doing, idiot? Sayuri hissed, blushing. Hugs, the girl answered briefly, slipping her hand under Madara's clothes and pressing closer. Stop it, both of you. Sayuri yelled, pushing them apart. Hey, what are you doing? Mito frowned, adjusting her clothes. I wanted to be filled with love. Filled with love? Sayuri blushed even more. Slut. Maybe we should get down to business? Jin asked. Oh, yes, Madara, this girl will help us in exchange for help with the research, Sayuri said. Mito took up the conversation. He has a very strong spirit, which accumulates the nature of power and fulfills his desires. Reality is his home, everything is in him. Mito approached Madara again. Endless spiritual pressure. Your mind is strong, interesting to me. It's like eternal Izanagi? Sayuri asked. Using spiritual energy, the technique turns the world into an illusion controlled by the Uchiha who uses it. He is not a human, he is an anomaly. Such amount of spiritual energy is not even in all bija together, self-sustaining due to energy from light, temperature difference, pressure difference, Mito whispered, putting her palm to Madara's chest. He only has to wish and everything will change according to his desire. Using his power, you can take control of the whole world. Oh. And we can have a celebration on this occasion. It's time to set the table. Madara raised his finger admonishingly. By the way, Mito, teach me Fuinjutsu, because I don't understand it at all. Chapter 4. Madara subdues Uzumaki On December 24, 76 years before Naruto was born, the great ninja, Uchiha Madara, was born. At the age of 4, he subjugated the entire Hyuga clan with his eyes. Madara himself disappeared in an unknown direction, leaving his older brother Izuna, and then a clan war broke out, where most of his younger brothers died. History has not preserved information about where Uchiha Madara was during the war, but an internal conflict arose in most ninja clans. They were divided into conservatives and innovators. The former, the old generation of ninja, advocated war and revenge, and the younger, seeing the horrors of war and its senselessness, advocated peace and forgiveness, not wanting to die. In general, as usual, the new generation were degenerates destroying ancient foundations and traditions. However, those were great times. There was no stupid ninja academy where children wasted their time. They were sent to war at the age of 3, given only a couple of pieces of advice. There was little bureaucracy, and the sky was bluer and the grass was greener. For example, Madara's older brother died at the age of 3, going to war without any knowledge of how to create chakra or other advice. He was too good for that, he didn't need it. Or Madara himself, who was kidnapped by the Hyuga and killed, but this is not certain. The information about this is contradictory and highly questionable. No one knew where Madara was at that time, the assumption that he was with Uzumaki, his enemies, visiting them, studying the theory of Fuinjutsu, which is why his art of seals became so strong and famous throughout the world, is delusional and illogical. Why did the entire Uzumaki clan suddenly become stupid, revealing their secrets to their potential enemy in the person of Uchiha Madara? In general, summing up, we can say that wherever Madara was, he was already laying the foundations for a global change in the order throughout the world. On Wednesday, December 24, 60 years before Naruto was born, Uchiha Madara celebrated his birthday in the close circle of the Uzumaki clan's eldest family. In front of him was a large table, on which stood an equally large cake. Madara was happy, but only until a half-naked Mito Uzumaki crawled out of the cake. Then Madara realized that he had been tricked, saving on the cake, making it hollow, and stuffing Mito in there as a distraction. Madara could not be fooled by a half-naked body. "Mito, go away, don't disturb me from looking at the cake, even though it turned out to be smaller than I expected, I still love it," Madara said. "The guy doesn't pay attention to the girl, either another girl is his love, or he has a friend," said Mito. "What are you hinting at?" Madara asked. "That I eat you?" "No, I'm not a cannibal." "I'm always ready to cover your rear," Jin nodded seriously. "It's complicated. I don't understand anything you're saying." Mito's younger sister, Kasumi, dropped her head onto the table. "Sister, stop speaking in such an ancient style, okay? The world could already be at our feet," Mito said, licking the cream off her finger. "Am I Madara to you, to fight alone against the ninja army of the whole world?" Madara was indignant, and then came to his senses. "Oh, yes, that's right, I am Madara, but I prefer other methods." Madara took out a spoon and was about to start eating the cake, but he was interrupted. A red-haired man in a white coat, with a short scarlet goatee, entered the office, abruptly froze at the entrance and pulled out a kunai. Madara did not lose his head, grabbed a fork, stuck it into the cake and began his meal. His pose changed imperceptibly, becoming more majestic. His gaze began to reflect the boundless boredom and indifference of a higher being to the midges surrounding him. "You! Uchiha! How did you get into my office?" the man yelled. "What's going on?" "Mito, my daughter? What the hell are you?" Madara raised his finger, causing Mito's father to shut up and tense up, preparing to fend off the attack. "Please don't raise your voice at me," Madara said quietly. "Don't stop me from eating my cake." "You!" He couldn't stand this and was about to go on the attack, when Mito stood in front of him, holding a knife to his neck. "Please, father, don't attack him, or I'll cut my throat," she said, and a drop of blood splashed on the knife as it cut the skin. "What did you do to my daughter, freak? What are you doing in my clan? I'll kill you." "Your daughter? In your clan?" Madara raised an eyebrow questioningly. "What are you talking about?" "This is my slave and this is my clan." "Sharingan? I see, you subdued her with hypnosis," Uzumaki said. And then guards jumped down from the ceiling, ninja in gray robes and white masks, standing behind Madara and pulling out their blades. Mito's father grinned and rushed towards his daughter, intercepting her hand. Making seals, he sent chakra into his daughter, dispelling Madara's control, only to feel a sharp pain under his rib a moment later. His eyes widened in surprise. He looked at his daughter's hand, stabbing him with a knife. "He didn't control me, father," Mito said. "Don't be afraid, it's just a paralyzing poison, you won't die." "Guards, take him to the punishment cell," Madara ordered. "Daughter! How could you betray our clan and collude with this freak? The Uchiha killed your older brother." "Nobody killed me," said the guard, removing his mask, revealing the face of a guy who looked like Mito. "Rapumaru? But how?" The head of the Uzumaki clan was very surprised. "Moreover, there was no war between our clans," Rapumaru replied. "It was simply the younger generation that destroyed the older generation, who were unable to accept the new order, peace, and harmony." Meanwhile, Madara continued to eat the cake, not paying attention to the world around him, completely losing all his greatness. The cake was more important than the quiet and bloodless coup in the Uzumaki clan, which became a turning point in the fate of the world. Everything went according to plan, which was devised and controlled by his slaves. He did not need to do anything except sit at meetings with a smart look, portraying a symbol of the unification of ninja clans. However, it could not be said that he did not have power, and was a puppet ruler, because it was on his initiative that the unification beginning to crystallize around him. Greetings to you, former head of the Uzumaki clan. Madara decided to visit the prisoner at night. Have you come to gloat? Asked the former head of Uzumaki. No, to tell a bedtime story. You're silent? It means I agree to listen. Do you like games? No? But I really like to play toys. Don't look at me, I'm a big boy. The first 40 years of a man's childhood are very difficult. So, any game has a theory, the most optimal strategy of actions to achieve victory. And as usual, there are problems everywhere, so in game theory there is a problem, it's called the prisoner's dilemma. Have you heard of it? Stop answering me with ellipses. That means you haven't heard anything, but I'm kind enough to tell you. Two criminals, the first and the second, were caught at about the same time for similar crimes. There is reason to believe that they acted in collusion, and the samurai, having isolated them from each other, offer them the same deal. If one testifies against the other, and the latter remains silent, then the first is released for helping the investigation, and the second receives the maximum prison term, 10 years. If both remain silent, their act is carried out under a lighter law, and each of them is sentenced to 6 months in prison. If both testify against each other, they receive the minimum term, 2 years. Each prisoner chooses to remain silent or testify against the other. However, neither of them knows exactly what the other will do. What will happen? Oh, I see you understand. Each of them will try to minimize the term of imprisonment, and the only way to do this is to remain silent in order to be released in 6 months. However, if you remain silent, you can get into a situation where the second, in order not to wait 6 months and immediately be released, betrays the first, and the silent one will go to prison for a longer term than if he had not kept silent, having turned in the second. Who knows what is in the head of the second? What if he is a liar and a traitor? You can't risk it. The tactic of betrayal completely dominates the tactic of silence. Similarly, the other prisoner comes to the same conclusion. And these evil idiots will betray each other, having served 2 years, instead of remaining silent and sitting for 6 months. And do you know what this situation is like? Yes, like a war between clans. You don't trust the Uchiha, they don't trust you, fearing a stab in the back for revenge, and you will never make peace to stop the cycle of deaths, but continue to fight. You will fight to save lives, losing lives. Of course, it is best to cooperate, and then there will be no bloodshed. However, there is a danger of getting stabbed in the back and losing completely, and you will choose war. Now I can kill you at any moment, and justify it by saying that I don't trust you, because if I free you or leave you alive, you will definitely find a way to harm me. You know, I read one story about Madara, and there Madara spared his father, and he took revenge by killing his wife and children, or maybe not that, I don't remember, it's been a long time since I read it. And in theory, the most logical solution would be to execute you right now. That's just mathematics, this path is the most optimal with the likelihood of betrayal. Or I act in a very stupid way, free you, you kill me like a very naive idiot, and then the war begins again. And the future of your daughter, all your children, their destiny becomes war and death. An eternal cycle of hatred and revenge. You're also an idiot, you'll definitely kill me, taking revenge on the Uchiha, although I've never killed any of the Uzumaki, you don't care about that, I'm also an Uchiha. Madara paused, took a sip of water from a glass, and continued his monologue. Well then, it's time to start a war. There was no point in peace. Madara walked up to the cage and tore off the seal, then turned his back to the former head of the clan, leaving his katana on the ground. At any moment, Madara could be killed. He was defenseless and relaxed. And the next day, something terrible happened. The head of the Uzumaki clan, who was helped to escape by an unknown ninja, went crazy and killed half of the elders of his clan. He was stopped with difficulty, and they were about to execute him. Wait, said Madara, appearing at the last moment. I'm canceling the execution and releasing him, giving control of the Uzumaki clan back to him. What oh? To say that everyone was surprised by Madara's kind decision is to say nothing. Everyone thought Madara was crazy, but they did not dare to contradict, freeing the no longer former head of the clan. Madara smiled, approached the man and extended his hand. Are you ready to accept my friendship? He asked, looking into eyes full of hatred towards him. Yes, the man said dryly, shaking his hand in return. You are now the chosen one of those smart enough to put aside their hatred and follow harmony, peace and order, Madara said as solemnly as possible. And I place a great mission upon you, and the hope that you will protect harmony from those who do not accept it. Madara moved closer, hugged the man and whispered in his ear through clenched teeth. Otherwise, there will be a massacre, and a dark future awaits your descendants. I am glad that you made the best decision. A little later, Madara continued to enjoy another cake while waiting for Mito to be free to teach him. 2 servants, a girl and a boy, served him, pouring tea and bringing cookies. After drinking his cup in one gulp, he abruptly put it down on the table, and it was refilled. Madara repeated himself, and his tea was refilled. Madara pretended that his cup was empty, and his tea was refilled without looking, spilling it on the table. The maid turned pale with fear. Aha! Gotcha! Madara said happily in the same quiet voice. Don't bully the servants, Mito said as she entered the veranda. I think with that much spiritual energy, you should be able to learn everything very quickly. Yes, I'm 20% better than everyone else, Madara smiled. Let's start with the very basics. Kyuinjutsu seals are created from words called will imprints. The ninja, with his willpower and control, or with the help of special ink and means, concentrates chakra into a point, and this very dense chakra, depending on the will invested, changes the surrounding world. Do you know what the advantage of this approach is, as opposed to ninjutsu? In what? Madara asked, keeping up the conversation while continuing to eat the cake. With the help of symbols of will, you can take your time with the creation of the technique. It takes time to transform chakra into the element of fire, especially if there is no predisposition to this element. Then you can transform and accumulate chakra for an hour before the battle, creating a symbol of the will of fire, and during the battle, release the power in one explosion. You can work on the chakra slowly and thoughtfully, which cannot be done during the battle. But this approach also has a minus, the efficiency. The less you have an idea of what the symbol of will should do, the more chakra the symbol of will consumes, solving the problem. You can put the desire to create fire into the symbol of will, without knowing how to create fire from chakra, and the symbol of will go through the methods, spending the invested chakra until it understands how, and does not transform. The best way to increase the efficiency is to divide the task into many small parts. The more symbols of will you write to solve one problem, the more efficiently and, most importantly, faster the task will be solved. The symbol of will can also be created quickly, putting in maximum chakra and an order. You can quickly create a ready-made template from many symbols and pour in a lot of chakra so that the symbol solves the problem. But only masters or those who have large reserves of chakra can do this. Usually, to create a symbol of will, you need high concentration to put the thought into the chakra. Usually, trance or other methods are used for this, like calligraphy, hypnosis. You don't need this. Having such spiritual power, it will not be a problem for you to compress the chakra and put a task into it. Here is a piece of paper. Try to simply put the thought into the chakra to expand in 10 seconds, and put a dot on the paper. Mito, there's a small problem. Madara picked up the spoon with the cake. Which one? Mito asked. I don't know how to create chakra. What? Mito was surprised, her jaw dropped slightly, but she pulled herself together, sighed heavily, and continued the lesson. Considering your spiritual power, let's start with Inton, the release of Yin spiritual energy. Just imagine an apple in your hand, and then wish to strengthen its appearance. You should succeed the first time. But neither the first nor the second time did Madara succeed, until he figured out how to direct the thought into himself, scooping up something invisible in himself. A white ball of energy with a black dot in the middle appeared in his hand. The ball emitted waves of electricity and spiritual energy, and it did not look like an apple, until Madara figured out how to relax and let the illusion trap his vision. The ball turned into an apple. That's strange, it should have worked the first time. And you have good spiritual power, since you were able to make the illusion solid. Now Yotan, this should also work the first time. This time, Madara grabbed the charge of energy in his body with his mind and pulled it out of his finger. A scarlet fire lit up at the tip of his finger. Madara felt rapidly growing fatigue and hunger, stopped and began to eat the cake very quickly, replenishing his strength. It is unwise and too expensive to use energy separately, so it is better to combine energy. Never use pure spiritual energy, it is too weak to influence the material world, and pure life force. Without spiritual, it cannot be controlled and it will simply scatter in all directions. Always add a little yang to yin, and vice versa. Master Onmyoton by mixing and creating chakra. This is the most primitive method of Onmyoton, when you simply create chakra by mixing, and cannot be called Saishitsu Henka, changing properties. But if you can change spiritual and life energy, both your own and someone else's, then yes, changing a natural property. But this is impossible. The limits of chakra change are rigidly fixed genetically and spiritually. You need to be very smart, or have a lot of experience and knowledge, or good genetics, including all the transformations. Madara concentrated and created chakra on the tip of his finger, scooping up the energy with his mind and shaping it. This was already Onmyoton, but the most basic, just mixing without changing. From this, you can't get the ability to create all things, or radically change the properties of nature. I see that you can directly create chakra with the power of thought, but it is slow and ineffective. Besides, only ninjas with the same high spiritual and physical level as you can do this. There is a way to create chakra faster. You have a system of chakra channels in your body. These channels entangle every cell of your body, penetrating inside, even the blood is permeated with them. They are free places for the movement of chakra and its limitations. All you need is to use the energy already prepared in the channels, enhancing the production of chakra, collecting it from the entire body and releasing it through the release points. You must feel it and thus create chakra the first time. I'm some kind of wrong Madara, Madara said, having failed to create chakra the first time, as all ninja do. And he failed the second and third time. Oh, wow. It turned out to be easier than I thought, Madara smiled, feeling that he no longer had to mentally strain himself to create chakra. I thought you would cope faster, because you have a lot of spiritual power. Now about Fuinjutsu. Having large amounts of chakra, the Uzumaki could experiment a lot, and achieved the highest results in creating symbols of will. We learned many ways to improve this or that action, developing the art of sealing and creating barriers to high levels. But I can't tell you all the secrets, nor give you the design templates for sealing symbols of will. These are strategically important secrets of the clan, which you must figure out yourself. Invent the wheel and the bicycle? Madara raised an eyebrow. Easy. Commentary on Chapter 4, Madara subdues Uzumaki. It's already Chapter 4, Madara is already 16 years old, and he still hasn't fought anyone. He only used his tongue. Chapter 5. Madara subdues the Uchiha Game forum. Chat. Sunshine, what did you want? Discord. Disca, ahahaha. Celia, you're a man. Celestia is a moderator. Ahaha. Disca, in short, I need some vacation and rest here. Take over for me, Celia, okay? Disca, I owe you a pie. And lots of cakes. Sunshine, yes. Disca, horror, Celia, you've turned into a kuderi. You've become 20% more boring. How so? Disca, how can you speak in such short and boring sentences? Disca, where is all your charm? Where is your greatness? What kind of leak is this? Who have you turned Celia into? Sunshine, Discord, are you okay? Disca, Wazavuvi, the tribe, defeated the space tyrant. Ahaha, lose to the natives? Okay? Nothing is okay. Disca, he had something with that, but sooner or later. Disca, boring. Hose, can you help me with the red one? Disca, one more. Listen, Infinity Hose, don't bother me, I'll multiply by 0. Hose, can you help? Disca, oh, why am I so kind? I'll help, I'll help. Disca, where would you be without me? Disca, no, I can't help. Render on, Madara says the activation phrase. The place where he was a light deciduous forest, through the crowns of which the sun's light penetrated with golden rays. A gray cloak hid Madara's body, revealing to the world only his head, not hidden by a deep hood that hung open by a strong gust of wind. Around Madara stood several shadows, holding blades in their hands, aimed at him. Step 1. Release spiritual energy from your head. One of the shadows raises his hand, a white smile is visible. Step 2. Permeate the entire body with spiritual energy. The blade sparkles in the enemy's hand, the enemy anticipates a bloody massacre. Step 3. Connect the released spiritual energy with the vital energy that is now evenly distributed throughout the body. A sharp swing pierces Madara's shoulder and he falls, blood splashing on the ground. Step 4. Pull the resulting chakra into the center of the chakra system. The second blade is raised above Madara's body. Another enemy approaches him, aiming the blade at his stomach. Step 5. Spin the chakra into a vortex and direct it to the heart. The blade pierces his stomach, hitting his kidney and causing Madara to wince. Step 6. The shadow flickers. Madara, why aren't you defending yourself? Hinata yelled, scattering the bandits in all directions in an instant. I created and accumulated chakra to protect myself, but I didn't have time, Madara replied. Step 6. Release additional spiritual energy from your head and direct it to your heart. This is the first time I've seen a ninja who creates chakra so slowly. Hinata exclaimed. Step 7. Pass the chakra through the heart again in the opposite direction to the chakra center. And enjoy how the chakra heals all injuries in the blink of an eye. Eh? When did you manage to heal so quickly? How so? Hinata was surprised, ready to heal Madara. Render off, Madara said, feeling very tired. Is there anything to eat? I've spent a lot of chakra. Of course I spent a lot, you don't control your chakra at all. Here's an exercise for chakra control. Climb a tree without hands, Hinata answered and jumped onto the tree. Send chakra to your legs and attach yourself to the tree with chakra. If you send too little, you won't attach and fall, and if you send too much, the tree won't withstand the load and you'll slip. At first, it's better to do this with a running start, so that you have time to feel the attraction, and also not fall on your back due to perpendicular loads, and then the body will instinctively distribute chakra to stand up straight. Hinata jumped off the tree. Got it? Madara didn't answer. He took a running start and ran up the tree trunk, gradually slowing down until he stopped. He walked in different directions, standing horizontally to the ground, feeling the currents of chakra. Madara was surprised. That's it? Madara raised an eyebrow questioningly. I thought it would be more difficult. And then a short circuit occurred in Madara's head, when the words training and stats came together. And chakra control was a characteristic that could be trained. Madara got carried away, and he began jumping off the tree and climbing back up again like crazy, walking upside down on the branches, attaching himself to the tree with any part of his body, not only his legs, but also his hands, even his tongue and butt. And if for the first 4 hours Hinata was happy that Madara showed her how he trains for the first time, and in general, for the first time anyone in this world saw Madara training, then after the 8th hour of training in a row she began to worry a lot. Madara, maybe that's enough? Hinata asked the next day, seeing Madara continuing to train. You haven't slept for a whole day. Madara's gaze, when Hinata tried to interrupt the training by force, was full of hatred and irritation. Hinata lost consciousness and got a couple of gray hairs. Madara's training inspired horror. Continuously, for 8 days, without stopping for food and sleep, he trained control of chakra, attaching himself to trees in a variety of ways. He was carried away, and Hinata could only retreat in front of his madness. From the depletion of chakra, Madara lost weight, turning into a walking skeleton. Here, eat, Hinata decided when Madara finished training. During this time, she caught a huge amount of meat and cooked a lot of food. Madara ate all 3 tons, somehow fitting it into his body. And then he fell asleep for 3 days. Breathing heavily, rapidly gaining weight and returning to his previous shape. On the 3rd day, he woke up and bowed his head to Hinata. She was very surprised. Sorry, Madara said. It's just one of my quirks. I can nerd out for days without paying attention to anything. To nerd out? Hinata asked again. Once I ended up in hell and mistook it for a dream. Forget it, Madara waved his hand and stood up. Forget it? Don't worry about it, don't pay attention, get it out of your head, Madara explained. Shaking off his ermine robe, which he did not take off even when sleeping or going to the toilet, Madara continued his leisurely walk. Halfway there, he stopped and froze, looking around as if he did not recognize the place where he was. Turning to Hinata, he looked at her for a long time as if trying to remember who she was. Halfway there, he stopped and turned towards the cliff from which the waterfall fell. Hinata activated her Byakugan, trying to understand why Madara had turned towards the waterfall, and saw a cave behind it. Slowly turning slightly to the side, they climbed up the steep mountain path to the entrance, on the side where there was no water. There, in the middle of the cave, stood a transparent arch, a passage to a stone platform under a bright blue forest, on which 2 moons were visible, one scarlet and the other blue. On the edge of the platform stood columns with numbers from 1 to 12. What is this? Hinata asked. A passage to another world, Madara answered, passing through the arch. Hinata stood at the arch, looking at it from the other side, and there was also a platform visible, only the sun was visible in the sky, and the posts on the edge of the platform had numbers from 13 to 24. This was the other side of the platform. Hinata passed through the passage to another world, walked around the arch, seeing Madara on the other side. Touching the edge of the arch, she expected to cut herself on the edge of space, but this did not happen, the edge bent under her finger. She stuck her hand on both sides of the passage. It was a strange feeling, her hands should have collided, but this did not happen. Hinata, stop playing, soon the energy will run out and your arms will be torn off. Hinata nevertheless wrapped her hands and joined her fingertips, trying to mentally fit the resulting picture. Her brain was exploding from sensations, her imagination was giving in to the new experience, her thoughts were jammed. Hinata decided to follow Madara's advice and not pay attention to the portal. Now we will make a transition to another world, and remember, never and under no circumstances kill anyone in that world. Otherwise, Discord will eat you. Discord? An old friend of mine, Madara smiled, meeting the gaze of a short girl in a dark dress, whose dark eyes gazed at him indifferently from under a fringe of equally dark hair. Hello, Offit. Hello, Madara. Hinata, time in the world where Offit and I are going is accelerated many times over relative to ours, while centuries and millennia will pass there, here only minutes will pass. Are you sure you want to come with me? I don't quite understand what's going on, but I hope you can explain everything to me. I'll go with you, I'll be consumed with curiosity if I stay here. Get ready, we're going to meet the spirit of chaos, Discord, he looks like a monster, keep your cool, anything can happen, and most importantly, don't kill anyone. A flash of light, Hinata blinked, looking at a beautiful little white horse, half a meter tall, with wings and a twisted horn on its forehead. The multicolored mane of the white horse faintly shimmered with small stars. Blue, green, and purple strands slowly fluttered in an invisible wind, eyes with purple irises majestically looked at Hinata. The horse felt like Madara. Welcome to Equestria, Hinata, the horse said in a deep feminine voice, with an intonation reminiscent of Madara, that is, elevated and calm. Madara, why did you turn into a horse? Hinata asked, realizing that her voice had changed, and immediately fell silent, looking at herself. I'm an alicorn, oh beautiful dragon. Hinata, Madara replied. Hello, Discord, give me some cake. He. 2 Celestias? That would be funny. The only funnier thing is Twilight, who was adopted by a drug lord. But Hinata has nothing to do in this world. A snap of fingers, a flash. Hinata disappeared. Madara looked at Discord attentively. It was an incomprehensible creature with yellow eyes and a vertical pupil, similar to a chimera of an old, tall, thin, and long-whiskered dragon assembled from body parts of different animals. He looked at Celestia with bewilderment. Cake first, Discord. Discord froze and smiled, swaying from side to side. Huh? I thought it would be much. It would all be much better. And very bad music, just very bad music. I thought it would all be much better. I've been here so many times, it was much better, but this time it just didn't work out. First of all, there aren't many people, the music isn't very. Discord, cake. Eh? Cake. Cake? What cake? Payment for my work. Discord started dancing. Shaking off his ermine robe, which he did not take off even when sleeping or going to the toilet, Madara continued his leisurely walk. Halfway there, he stopped and froze, looking around as if he did not understand where he was. Turning to Hinata, he looked at her for a long time, as if trying to remember who she was. "Are you Hinata?" "Yes," Madara nodded. Hinata, already accustomed to Madara's oddities. "Sorry, I've been away for a few thousand years in another world, and I don't remember what I'm doing here." "Remind me." "We're going to the Uchiha clan to capture it," Hinata reminded. "Uchiha? Who are the Uchiha?" "Oh yeah, let's go." Night, street of Uchiha village, moon, gloomy Madara on a pole with a fluttering cloak, and Hinata looking at Madara with bewilderment. He throws his cloak on the ground, sits down and looks around. Hinata's patience is running out. "So why did you need the cloak that I took a huge detour to get if you threw it away anyway?" "That's how it has to be." It was a quiet night in the Uchiha quarter. One half of the clan was taking the other half of the clan hostage. Madara did not move a finger, continuing to stand on the pole until dawn. And already in the morning, a bewildered Izuna looked at the crowd of Uchiha in front of his house, some of whom were holding others hostage. "What? What's going on?" Izuna was surprised. "Hello, little brother," Madara said and fell from the pole, his legs going numb. However, he was not allowed to fall to the ground. Hinata caught him in her arms. "Madara? You're alive?" Izuna's surprise was very strong. "Hyuga? I see, you and the power of your eyes were used to finish off the Uchiha clan." "That's not true," Madara replied. "No one is using me." "Then what in the name of Kami is going on?" Izuna flared up. "A coup in the Uchiha clan," Madara replied. "A coup? And? When?" "From the very beginning, you could say from the very moment I was born, I planned and executed my plan." "Sayuri, Jin, take him," Madara pointed his finger at Izuna. "Yes, my master," Sayuri said, appearing behind Izuna and holding a blade to his throat. "Sayuri? You too? What? Why? I don't understand anything." Izuna yelled. "Please don't raise your voice," Madara asked. "Don't move, I'll explain everything to you." Izuna looked around in confusion, not understanding anything. Next to Sayuri stood a guy from the Senju clan, Jin, Sayuri's implacable enemy, whom she hated with all her heart and tried to kill with all her might. After all, he killed her sister. And now they were standing, practically hugging. Sayuri's sister was standing in front of him, holding his father hostage. Wasn't she dead? "Oh, personally, I saw her death with my own eyes, her cold corpse, but she was alive." "The Uchiha clan is now under my control," Madara said, standing up. "It's just as I planned." Commentary on Chapter 5, Madara subdues the Uchiha. Looking for a beta. Chapter 6. Madara and the Cakes July 24, 50 years before Naruto was born, Uchiha Madara sat in his office and looked over reports. In a decade, he had managed to do a lot: recruit agents in many ninja clans, change the leadership to one loyal to him, and most importantly, secretly unite all the clans into an alliance, outwardly continuing the battle and feud between the clans. This was not a lie, the war continued, but no longer between Madara's allies and subordinates, but between those who wanted war, like Izuna, his father, the old generation of ninja, and those who wanted to end the war. It was just that half of the Uchiha clan, half of the Senju clan, the entire Hyuga clan, and the rest of the clans stopped fighting among themselves on the same day, and the remaining half of the Senju clan and the Uchiha continued to fight, venting their hatred, like the oldest loner ninja from the other clans who were disgusted by Madara's union. Why wouldn't Madara stop the war by force, suppressing the renegades? Because Madara adhered to the principle that saving the drowning is a thankless task, and it is the drowning themselves, and the principle of freedom of choice and will. Don't want to fight? Join Madara. Do you want to fight and avenge old grievances? No one forbids you, fight. Do you want to stop the war? No one forbids you, fight for peace with those who fight, stop. The main thing is not to involve Madara and his allies in this matter. Of course, there was espionage, underhanded games, and so on, but Madara pushed the showdown with this on Hinata, who became Madara's shadow, along with Sayuri and Jin, while he himself concentrated on negotiations, agreements with countries regarding missions and tasks, becoming the Zeroth Hokage of a still nameless ninja village. Madara would have given his place to Hinata long ago, if not for how much he earned, managing a nameless village of united ninja clans. A measly 1% of the money from missions carried out by one clan to its head, increased twofold if this head managed 2 clans, and threefold if 3. All missions went through him, as did the payment for their completion. Employers positively assessed the reduction of headaches and hassle from the fact that the search and selection of the clan they needed to carry out missions fell on Madara's shoulders. You go to Madara, or send a servant to him, and he himself figures out who and what to give to whom, who to contact, especially since it became easier, all the clans were in one place, there was no need to run and search for a long time. Clans positively assessed the reduction of problems with finding employers, and communication with them, as well as negotiations. The Nara clan was especially happy about this, and Madara immediately saddened the Nara clan by making them the main analysts of the missions being carried out for the purpose of setting up the employer, as well as several other non-combat ninja clans who did not know how to use chakra at all, but knew how to use other ninja skills, such as surveillance, stealth, and information gathering. You don't know how to use chakra at all? Madara asked. Why? We can. Fire. Ball. The man shouted, made signs with his hands and breathed out flame. At first, Madara thought that this was indeed an Uchiha clan technique. The room smelled of alcohol and its combustion products. Madara realized that it was a deception. I understand, Madara nodded. A large